Hi guys, I'm Nick with History Explained, and today we're going to be talking about why the Italian army was so ineffective during the Second World War. Let's start out prior to World War II. Both Hitler and Mussolini were looking to mobilize and expand their armies. Mussolini announced in 1934 that he could mobilize around 6 million soldiers. 1936, he increased the number to 8 million, and in 1939 to 12 million people. If those numbers sound a bit off, well, Operation Barbarossa was the largest military invasion in history, and it was conducted by around 4 million soldiers. Nevertheless, the Italians managed to mobilize around 3 million soldiers, yet they were basically worse equipped than the Italian troops in World War I. Quite in contrast to the German and Japanese forces, the Italian forces were not ready for war against any major force. The question is why the Italian armed forces were not ready. There are several reasons for this. In general, the Italian and fascist system was quite inefficient. First, Italy had a limited number of industries, which weren't properly prepared for arms production, which, hey, that's handy for a war, ain't it? Second, the allocation of resources and organization was limited, and additionally, similar to Germany and Japan, Italy had also had a severe lack of resources. Third, the wars in Ethiopia and Spain required resources that the Italians really couldn't spare at that time. After all, those conflicts dragged on far longer than anticipated. As a result, the Italian forces were not ready when the war started in 1939. Mussolini was quite aware of this problem. After all, he insisted on a period of peace during the negotiations of the Pact of Steel, or the Stillpaket, in Germany. And with Germany and those who didn't join the war until June 1939 by declaring war on France. Yikes, right? That's some nice stuff there. Declaring war on France was kind of the Italian army's yeah, declaring war on France. At first, some word about the general organization of the Italian army before the war, some word got out, nobody could believe it. This small country that was decimated by the First World War, but not so much by the Great Depression, was about to battle everyone, almost everyone in the world. Mussolini was not prepared for what was going on. In 1937, the Italian army restructured its divisions from the common system of tripartite to a bipartite system, the so-called binary system, where each infantry division only consisted of 2 regiments instead of 3. Why? Why, you ask? This was all Mussolini and the Italian general's idea. Something that is also portrayed in Hearts of Iron 3 and Hearts of Iron 4, check that out, it's an awesome game. But be aware, though, that the Hearts of Iron 4 basic divisions layouts lack artillery regiments. Okay, enough about Hoi 4. Yet, from a game design perspective, it makes cool to call them companies. Now, the intention of the binary system was to make units more capable for mobile warfare instead of the deadlock of trench warfare that had basically decimated the Italian army. They just sat there for years shooting at each other, and that's not an effective way of war. It's a good way of attrition, as one army or the other will keep attacking until this one dies, or this one runs out of strength, and this army can attack, and then this one can attack. It's basically a gigantic circle, and it was attrition, wearing down this army's strength to build up this one. This one could attack that one. This one could build up their one and attack this one. It's basically just a gigantic stalemate. Next up is a brief look at the situation in September of 1939 and then a more detailed look at the stats in June of 1940. At first, the army had about 67 divisions without the units in Ethiopia. These divisions consisted of 43 infantry, 3 tank, 2 motorized, 3 fast, 5 mountain or Alpini divisions, and 11 other divisions like paratroopers, marines, and other divisions for special purposes. Yet only 16 of these divisions were completely restructured. Furthermore, there was a lack of artillery, tanks, transport vehicles, anti-tank, and AA guns. Even basic supplies like quality food was lacking, and you gotta give your troops quality food or else they'll mutiny or starve to death. Yet only 16 of these divisions were, again, completely restructured. That's horrible. Um, yeah. The Navy was better equipped in terms of basic supplies like food and ammo, but it also lacked AA guns on its ships and its bases. Yet there was severe lack of fuel. Yeah, Italy was huge deficit in fuel. With the other branches, the Navy was best equipped and prepared, as it had a large Mediterranean fleet. Yeah. The Italian Air Force, called the Regia Aeronautica, also had major problems. There was a vast amount of different aircraft types, and additionally the ground crews were of limited quality. Mediocre at best quality for ground crews. This led to a low number of operational aircraft of less than 50% in September of 39, when only 1,190 planes were operational out of 2,586. Seriously, 50% of your aircraft are operational, my man. That's not good. Furthermore, most aircraft were usually underpowered and underarmed, something most War Thunder players are highly aware of: spaghetti guns. As a result of dire state of the armed forces and the severe lack of ammo, weaponry, and fuel, transport capacity and personnel, yada yada yada, the Ministry for War Production in 39 advised Mussolini that only an army of 73 divisions would be feasible instead of originally planned number of 126. Yet still, the infantry wasn't capable of equipping those units efficiently till the entry of Italy into the War of June of 40, but nobody assumed that Italy would enter the war that early. Well, seems like Mussolini had a tendency for premature declarations. Now, the situation in June of 1940. First, the army. In June of 1940, Italy entered the war with a total of a bit less than 1.7 million soldiers, and a total of about 73 divisions. Whereas in 1915, the Italian army joined the war with more men, it was also an army that had similar quality weapons and equipment to the other majors. But in 1940, this was clearly not the case. Of the 73 divisions, only 19 had the required amount of personnel, equipment, weapons, and transport capacity. Another 34 were operational but lacked personnel, and only 25% full. Transport capacity was even less than that. The last 20 divisions lacked more than 50% personnel, but a sufficient amount of equipment and 50% transport capacity. The infantry formed the mainstay of the Italian army, but the firepower of the Italian infantry division was, according to Gerhard Schroeder, about 25% of a French infantry division, or around 10% of a German infantry division. Now, I don't know how the author determined those numbers, but here is a direct comparison of the numbers of Italian and German infantry and intended equipment and personnel. I got this out of a book, and I kind of improvised the lines here. 449 officers for Italy, 518 for Germany. Pretty good. Only you get down, and 614 NCOs for Italy, 2,573 for Germany. Oof. 11,916 men to Germany's 13,667 in each division, 12 heavy howitzers for each, 6 heavy infantry support guns, 12 100mm howitzer 30 and 36 light howitzers. All of this maintained Italy's. It basically screwed their war effort. Now, I don't want to be bursting in Italy's proverbial bubble here, but they had a kind of a crap army. I will see you guys later. I'm Nick with History Explained, and you've been watching History Explained.